I am fearless, I'm driven, I'm passionate. It's a little ironic that my MS is as aggressive as I am. I struggle with tremors, double vision, brain fog, and chronic pain. It's this stabbing feeling of these jagged edges just coursing through your entire body. One morning, I woke up, tried to move my leg, it wouldn't move. My thoughts were, is this going to be for the rest of my life? That the inevitable was finally happening to me. And then my legs started to tingle. I'd never been more grateful to be in pain again. I'm so hard on myself and my new normal. We just have to remind ourselves that we are warriors. When you hear about a cure, it brings that hope back. If no one would have to ever experience this, it would just change the world.
Representation through the society, to me, is extremely important. When you get that diagnosis of MS, you're gonna go on social media, you're gonna go online and put that word in, and the National MS Society is gonna come up. But when you click on that link and you only see a white woman or a white man, you're gonna feel like maybe you were misdiagnosed. You're gonna feel like something's not right.
It's a problem because, you know, most of the time you see MS. I mean, it's from most publications, you really see it in a certain manner because more women have it, more white women have it. But when you start seeing younger black men have it, which is a lower, you know, statistic, you know, but it needs to be marketed because a lot of younger black men are continually getting it. So when you're coming up in a disease and you don't see yourself in any of those people that are marketed, it's very hard to associate yourself.
My doctors would always say, go on the website. I don't want to go on the website. They would give me, you know, publications and I don't want to look at that. You know why? Because I don't align with that and it doesn't make sense to me. And because I don't align with it, I feel even more secluded. I feel even more confused.
Seeing other black and non-binary and trans and female-bodied people represented in media about MS, shows other people that there are other people who exist with this, and so it hopefully will feel a little less lonely. I don't see a lot of black people in general represented with MS, so it's exciting to be able to be a face for this. And I just hope it inspires other people to ask more questions about their health.
So I think it's very important to tell my story because there's going to be a lot of people that relate to me that relate to me. They're going to see things that I do and they're going to see, hey, I can do this, right? I want to tell everybody how MS is impacting me, you know, ways I manage the impact on me and just set it up in ways and just help people.
Your voice is our power. And what I mean by that is that every person that speaks up helps other people going through the same thing, and it helps educate people that can't comprehend it.
MS does not discriminate. MS is gonna get a man, a woman, they're gonna get anybody, black, white, purple, gray. It's gonna hit us all, but when we start to see more of a representation, I feel like it can calm and ease the anxieties behind it. It makes you more accepting of it. It makes you feel like, you know what? There are other people out there like me. I wanna make sure that no other woman that looks like me, talks like me, has family from the places that I have family from, feel like they're alone.
y'all know how we do it. I'm still grooving, because we gotta have that type of intro. Listen, hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth, right? That says a lot in and of itself. The fourth annual Black MS Experience Summit, and I am so incredibly excited, right? I'm on tiptoe anticipation. I am excited to be hosting a powerful 2 days of resisting invisibility. And watch this, embracing identity. My name is Tyler Campbell, Mr. Real Life, Real Talk himself, aka Mr. TC Speaks. My pronouns go by he and him. I live in the Tonkawa tribe, native land of Austin, Texas. Man, that's a powerful introduction. It's a lot, it's a mouthful, but I hope y'all understand I come from a place of energy and prosperity and victory today. And it wouldn't be complete without my amazing, my illustrious, my one of a kind. She's your queen.
I love it.
Hey, my co-host Michelle. Yeah, I'm an 80s baby, so I can sing it. Michelle, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Tyler, we got to come with the energy like my shirt says. I am unstoppable. We are
Yes.
ready for the next 2 days to be your host here. I'm very excited. I'm Michelle Witherspoon. My pronouns are she and her. I reside in the lands of the Lumbee tribe in North Carolina. However, this week I'm in Los Angeles, LA with my daughter. And so I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen. Oh, wait, first, before we do that, we need to acknowledge, we want to take a moment to acknowledge the original stewards of our land and to recognize the history before colonization and the significance of the indigenous people who live and continue to live in these lands. And that's why Tyler and I started off with doing our research, knowing what tribes we come from and the lands that we sit on. We're doing this today as a standard practice because the society does this in every single meeting they have to make their spaces more inclusive. Now, speaking of inclusion, and Tyler and I did this last year, there's closed captioning available for all who need it in the boxes below, right? Where you see the session. Last time we were like boxes below, right? So we do have closed captioning. Make sure you take advantage of that resource. So here's a little bit about me. I'm the head of Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion of Integration and Solutions, a really long title for Amazon corporate. And so some of you may remember me before when I was with Cisco Systems. I switched y'all, so now I'm over at Amazon corporate. I've also been a very, very long time volunteer at the society. I live with MS. My sister lives with MS. My aunt lives with MS. The society is close to my heart. I think all the work that Cindy and everybody does there is imperative. And that's why we're here today, right? Not only from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal one, right? I know this work is personal for you too, Tyler. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. It's near and dear to my heart. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2007 while at San Diego State University, the first person to ever play Division I college football with MS. But I think what was more important was getting into a situation like many of us where you don't see what the displayed disease is pictured to look like. Right. And we live by that thing of leaving things better than the way that we found them. And for me, that's been my life's mission ever since. I did not find that Black man that I was looking for. I Googled Montel Williams, but he wasn't next to me. And I think I let my life be the message ever since. And I quickly understand, and y'all need to write this down, I embody my ancestral heritage because I truly believe that out of my oppression, we are delivered a greater blessing. And those are the things that are coming over us. We can't forget that we are constant overcomers. Look at your history, look at your makeup. So what MS is in your life, you will be delivered a greater blessing. All right. So it's all about the Black MS community. Thank you all for joining us here today. This year's summit theme is Resist Invisibility and Embrace. Are we coming with it? Embrace identity. All right. And I think many of us can relate to sometimes feeling what? Invisible as a Black person living with MS. Yeah, type that in the chat. Have you ever felt invisible before? I think y'all can vibe with us on this. Many in our community struggle to feel seen, watch this, heard, and be given the support that they need to live their best life. And that's what we want to create for us today.
That's right, Tyler. For far too long, MS has been considered a white
person's disease.
Yes.
We all feel it, right? There's structural racism, there's healthcare inequities, there's a lack of representation, really offering the contribution to many Black people affected by MS are overlooked and forgotten. So here today, as a community, we're going to stand up, and what are we going to say no to? No to being invisible. We're going to address these issues head on. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about how do you tackle them. We want you to build a sense of community. And so that's what the next 2 days are about.
Absolutely, Michelle. You hit the nail on the head. I couldn't have said it better even more. Again, resisting invisibility. All right. This is the powerful place to make your voice and your story heard. And you got a story. All right. So let's do it. Let's take accountability. Let's use the resources. Let's use community to do that. Everyone out there, take a moment in the chat. All right. This is where we get active. Take a moment in the chat to share your name. Yo, where are you from? Where are you from? Are you with Michelle? Are you at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles down the road in LA? We don't know. All right. So we're hoping to take the time away to just get connected. All right. We're hoping that we can take away from this time of getting empowered, and we can do it together for the next 2 days. Use the chat feature throughout the entire program. It's always there to stay connected. Somebody may be in your own neighborhood. All right. Ask questions. The public will give you the answers. So please don't be shy. Let's be seen, right? Let's be heard to build this community. Come on, Michelle, you got to vibe with me.
That's right. That's right. You're going to hear us talk a lot about a community. That's the way that we get to know each other in this virtual environment. But here we go, Tyler. You know, this is your part coming up, right? So before we get started, we always have to say some big thank yous to the people and all the organizations that made this year's summit possible. I just want to pause on that for a minute, because without the organizations that support this, without the support of the MS Society from the top down, this wouldn't exist. So we want to thank the Black MS Engagement Advisory Committee. They are amazing in the background. They make up of members of the Black MS community, members of the society. They are awesome. This committee provides important input and guidance to make sure that the National MS Society is here in the way that our community needs it. And they listen, y'all. They listen, right? So thank you for sharing your perspectives and being the voice for all of us, to all the people at the MS Society. Okay, Tyler, now over to you to say all those names with the contributing organizations that help make this possible. You go ahead. You go ahead.
Hey, you know, we laugh. If somebody is new to this, Michelle, they haven't seen us the last couple of years, so they don't know why we're laughing. Okay, so that's okay. We ain't gonna throw you under the bus. Look, that's okay. We good. All right. We're giving you your flowers today. All right. So special shout out of thanks, acknowledgement, and commitment to the advisory committee. All right. We also have to thank our contributing organizations, and that's what Michelle is talking about. And they are a big
I mess up the names every year. Go ahead, Tyler.
I know. That's what we saying, right? That's what we saying. Okay. I wasn't gonna say that, Michelle, but you did. I wasn't gonna say that. All right. So here we go. Drum roll, please. All right. These are our contributing partners. Yo, thank you to our convening contributor, Genentech. All right. Thank you, Genentech. Also, we want to add the contributors Biogen, and watch this. This was the hiccup, Michelle. Drum roll, please. Sandoz. That's a walk-off home run right there. We thank you all so very much. All right. Without you, it's not possible. Also, I'm going to take the time to thank you, Michelle, because you helped start what we see today years ago. So being able to be a part and seeing your vision come about. Love you and thank you. So let's get down to business, right? I'm excited for the very first conversation because we coming in hot, Michelle. What you think?
I am so excited. Thank you for acknowledging that. We did start this conference in North Carolina 20-something years ago. It is my baby. It is my baby. But what we've done to taking it virtual is amazing. So as we all know, when you're diagnosed with MS, you not only have to add a bunch of doctor's appointments and different medicines into your life, but there's also this experience of trying to figure out and reconcile, now I'm living with this disease, right? This MS diagnosis. And who do I go to? Who am I going to be now? So being Black and having MS is a very unique experience. It's hard for others without this lived experience to understand sometimes what it's like. And so hopefully over the next few days, you're going to get a plethora of different experiences that'll help you to lean into community.
Yeah, exactly, Michelle. And hey, we get tired of explaining what it's like. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's also and we already battling fatigue. So now I got more fatigue trying to explain, but that's a whole nother ball game. So that's why I'm excited to hear from our first speakers. All right, Patrick, Sonia, and Derek. Oh, we got a brother in there. Patrick, Sonia, and Derek, who are going to be able to share their stories because stories are powerful and what they have learned more importantly since their diagnosis. So please, y'all, get your popcorn ready, get your antennas up, and let's listen to what it is that they have to say.
Hey, good afternoon, Sonia and Patrick. How are you today?
Hey, we're
Good
doing
afternoon.
good.
Doing
I'm
pretty
doing good.
good. No complaints.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining this experience with me. My name is Derek Booz. I was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis in December 16th, 2021. So I am fairly new to this, and I wanna hear more about your story, Sonia.
Well, my name is Sonia Bryson Kirksey, and I was diagnosed 2 months prior to my retirement in 2015. It's been a crazy journey for me too, but I know it's some things that we all need to work on. What about you, Patrick?
Good afternoon, beautiful people. I'm doing okay. I was diagnosed in August of 2006 with relapsing remitting. But currently I'm taking Ocrevus now. And now I'm primary progressive now. The disease has progressed since that time when I was diagnosed. But I'm doing pretty good with it, you know. I'm part of a support group. I'm leading a support group called MS Finest. We meet the first Wednesday of every month at the Cambria Heights Library. That's where I've got my love for books, being in the library. So that's one of the that's another suggestion for anybody who gets diagnosed. Get a good support group, get some love and support around you, get God and love around you to help you get through this journey. It will not be easy. You'll have some trials and tribulations, but put some positive people around you because MS and stress do not mix. Can't keep saying that so often because we don't need the stress. It cannot help us without curing this MS. And pray as much as possible. Smile. You'll be okay. You'll get through this.
Absolutely. I know that when I was first diagnosed, it was really hard for me because I was active duty military and
Mhm.
going through a diagnosis of relapsing remitting MS. First of all, not knowing what MS is, but trying to reconcile that with my current career was very hard for me. I'm also a singer, so I was wondering if it would affect my singing abilities and all kinds of other things. So at the beginning, it made me feel like there were a lot of things I couldn't do, a lot of things that my body wouldn't let me do. So when I was retiring from the military, it was helpful, but it just kind of left me in a space that I didn't know what to do with myself. So kind of singing was my outlet. I got to be able to audition and sing for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's been great ever since. So going through the beginning is a good thing because you get a chance to kind of look at what your life is and how it's going to be affected. But like for the middle part, Derek, what is excuse me, Patrick, what is, you said support groups and some other
Mhm.
things that keep you positive. What other things did you do in order to make yourself, be good about what your diagnosis was?
Putting some good people around me. Um, Going out and doing things like we still go to baseball games. We celebrate people's birthdays. I have a birthday coming up on June 26th. We're going on
Yeah.
Dallas BBQs to celebrate my birthday, have some drinks with some people who have MS too. Like
Awesome.
we can still live our lives. These little
Absolutely.
devices, they don't define us, not at all.
That's right.
People need to get to know us, get to know the person. Don't worry about the cane and the wheelchair and the stool and all that other stuff. It's just a medical device. It doesn't define us. We're still living our lives. Got people going to museums. You can still go on trips. You can still live your life with this
Absolutely.
diagnosis. So
Hmm. What about you, Derek? What do you think that life is offering you now that you know your diagnosis, and what are you looking for as your outlook?
Yeah, that's a great question on what my outlook would look like and what it does look like now. since being diagnosed. First off, I do want to say thank you for your service, Sonia. Appreciate all those sacrifices that you have endured, both in the community and also for our country. So I can't let that go. But my outlook really is more about growth and how can I grow with this? I can't get rid of this. It's not going away. There's no cure. So how can I grow? And what that growth looks like for me is just becoming that platform or that voice for people. Because when, as Patrick mentioned, you go through those stages, and having that stage of not knowing of what's next really is more scared than anything. And so you may not be willing to talk about it, but if you find somebody, as Patrick also mentioned, having those people around you, even if that's somebody you really don't know, I want to be that person. Patrick, you've been diagnosed the longest, and you paved the way for us. You used your voice through that, those experiences you've had, as well as your support group that you do lead. So thank you for that. Sonia, you're a singer for the Tampa Bay Lightning. You continue to use your voice. So thank you for that, for showing us that you still can, do things like singing, your passion, and for me, it's like, it's passed down from generation to generation, right? So I have to use my voice for something, and I have to build those relationships, and those relationships mean everything to me. And I've built relationships with many individuals, and to start with you all as a part of my family. You aren't just part of this MS experience, for this time being, you're family to me. So, as well as everybody in the community, you guys are family. And, I've come in contact with pro athletes who use their platforms for support and kind of giving us a voice as well. The MS Society has been invaluable to me, and they continue to be that. I know whatever I go through, they're going to be there. And they will always be there. And I don't think they get the recognition that they do deserve. They deserve everything 10 times fold. Every year for MS Walk, we choose who we're going to support or who we're walking for, and things like that. And I wanted to show them something that they mean to me. And I wanted to walk for them. So I dedicated my walk, that I walked the full 3 miles to the MS Society. And this was the sticker that I had for them, is that I chose to walk for the MS Society.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
nice.
MS Society, and thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
You're one of our blessings in our lives.
They are the biggest blessing.
Right?
And also I want to thank the filming crew for this, because they chose to document this, and they're taking the time out of their day to document this and this experience for Blacks, and for anybody that is colored or anything like that, that may not know that it does impact us just as much. So thank you for that as well. And I guess to end it all,
do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for choosing us to share our
Thank
stories.
you too.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
See, that's powerful. That's what you need, right? Like when we gather and we're able to vibe with one another is special. And then here you have like different individuals who've had their diagnosis over different parts of 20 years. So you have different perspectives. My man Patrick had his NY hat on, Derek had the beer game strong, and Sonya been serving our country. Come on, look at the different perspectives that we're providing. I think we all can relate on how the outlook changes over time. Like for me, it was like inspirational to hear Derek's thoughts on his future. Like I've been there, someone newly diagnosed. We know the question marks that you have over that. But I just think it's so beautiful when you can see our people. So thank you all for sharing your stories, your heart, and creating visibility. Next up, yo, we got to keep this thing going. Have the amazing opportunity to be blessed by the words of Crescence, who's going to talk about why having a doctor, come on, y'all, we diving deep, who really gets us is so incredibly critical to how we handle our diagnosis, and more importantly, for the community. Check it out. Thank you, Crescents.
I remember when I initially was diagnosed with MS. I remember sitting in the room with the doctor, and I could hear him, but I couldn't really hear him. It was like one of those Charlie Brown experiences. Wah, 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 wah. I eventually came to, and I clearly heard him. He said, "You have MS." And then he walked out afterwards. And when he walked out, I had so many questions. One of the biggest questions was, he's not talking to me. He can't be talking to me. MS is a white woman's disease. This older white man is telling me that I have this old white woman's disease. And that statement isn't that far off because for so long, MS was represented by pictures of older white women. So then I thought, well, if he didn't get it wrong, maybe I'm just a science experiment. The Tuskegee experiments were real and it happened to African Americans. And that might be another thought that somebody may say, oh, that's so out of this world. But it's not, because historically, Black people have been mistreated by medical professionals for so many years. And Black women in particular, there's this idea that we are these super unicorns that can withstand large amount of pain. And even if we can sustain large amounts of pain, our pain should never be ignored. We should never be made to feel isolated. We are already minorities. We are Black and we're women. Now you're a Black woman that has MS, you're even more of a minority. And I think had my experience started with a Black doctor, it would have set the stage for making this whole experience a little bit easier. It wouldn't have solved all the challenges, but it would have made it feel a little bit more manageable. When you're working with somebody that looks like you from the same cultural background, it feels familiar. When something feels familiar, it feels safe. And when you feel safe, you feel like you can trust somebody. I want to be able to work with a doctor that I feel is going to advocate for me. I want to work with a doctor that I feel like I can trust. Does it solve everything? No, but it makes the experience 10 times easier. Michelle Obama talked in her book recently about her father having MS. And one of the things she said is, when you come upon something that is different, you proceed with caution. And MS is so different. It leads to a whole different lifestyle. And every day I have to be cautious from the things I do, how I eat, what I drink, how I move my body. If I can let my guard down and not be as cautious when I'm with a medical professional, that can make this entire journey feel a lot more smoother than what it is. I should never have to walk into a space in a place where I don't see anybody that looks like me and never feel like anybody's going to get me. Never feel safe. Never feel like anybody's going to align with me. Never feel like somebody's going to advocate for me. Having somebody that looks like you, talks like you, understands certain cultural nuances that you don't have to explain makes the journey feel seamless. And this is why I think it's important to have a doctor that looks like you, talks like you, and understands you. We need more Black doctors working with more Black people suffering with MS.
That was awesome. Thank you, Crescent. Like, we're snapping our fingers. I second everything that she said. I know, Tyler, we both feel that. We need more Black doctors. Yeah, specializing. I will have to say, I have a little part in that since my daughter has finished her first year of med school, going into her second year, and we Black. So she's contributing to that, and I'm a bragging mom. Tyler, real quick, I know our speaker is coming up. The chat is blowing up. There's a whole OG gang in there. All of us that are on crevice right now, but any medication you want, keep doing that. There's some people that are saying they've been diagnosed since they were 7 and 8 years old. Please reach out to the society. We would love to hear your stories. Those are the stories we want to continue to keep amplifying. You're doing amazing stuff. But here we go. Guess who's up next? We are very, very excited for our next speaker.
Come on.
Okay, we're gonna come back and have a full conversation about this, but we're excited about our next speaker, Frederick Joseph. He's a two-time New York best-selling author of The Black Friend and Patriarchy Blues. He's also the author of Better Than We Found It, Get Ready, Tyler, and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, The Courage to Dream. We have to do Wakanda Forever. He's an award-winning author, an activist, a philanthropist. He's amazing. We were able to speak to him yesterday. Tyler, give a little bit more about him so we can bring him in.
Yes, absolutely. And like so many of us, Fred lives with MS. Me being a Black man, y'all know this, bro. I get overjoyed when I meet other Black men who are willing to share their hearts, come to a place of transparency and not worry about judgment. So we're so excited to have Fred here to share his story because it's valuable and just reflect on the summit, right? Again, we are here to resist invisibility and embrace identity.
Hi, everyone. How are you all doing today? It's an absolute honor to be here. First and foremost, I want to say that the space that the MS Society has created is in part saving lives, right? And I think that that's what I want to focus on today is how just having community is enough to help save a life, right? And to do that, I want to first focus on what are some of the words that get associated with Black people oftentimes, right? People think of words like resilience. People think of words like courage. People think of words like strength, right? People think of words like overcoming. And those are all excellent words in relation to Black people. But what happens when those words become expectations, right? When people assume that no matter what happens to a Black person, a Black body, a Black soul, that we will always be resilient, that we will always overcome, that in essence, maybe we don't need help. And that's one of the things I think that the MS Society has done a wonderful job of doing with the Black MS Experience Summit, right? Is understanding that we all can use help sometimes. We don't have to overcome alone. We don't have to be resilient alone. So, I didn't come to understand that this community existed until much later into having MS. And when I was diagnosed, I really, really needed it. So I'm hoping that, my story I'm about to share helps some other people see that this exists and that there are more of us out there. So as a young Black man, I thought I was invincible, quite frankly, right? Society once again taught me I'm about 6'2". I work out, I'm in the gym, whatnot, and I'm about 22 when I was diagnosed. So at the time, I thought I was impervious to everything. And so this one day, I'm playing football with some friends, and my leg starts getting heavy, right? And I've been having these weird feelings for weeks, right? Like brain fog, like I couldn't remember things. I didn't really know where I was at certain times. My hands tingling, but I didn't think anything of it, right? Because once again, all these words that get associated with Black people, I'm like, well, whatever it is, I'll be fine. I'll be all right. I'll be good. So when I started having these feelings in my leg or lack thereof, I ignored it, right? Until the day that I couldn't. So this one day we're playing football and my leg completely gave out. I couldn't run, I couldn't walk. And so some friends helped me off the field. So, I'm me being me being, strong Black guy. I said, you know what, I'm gonna get back on the field. And I tried again. Luckily, everything worked out. Later that afternoon, I live in New York City, so I'm heading on the train back home, and I'm standing at the edge of the train, waiting for the train, and I actually fall into the tracks. Right, my leg had lost so much feeling that I could not stand, and because I hadn't been thinking about needing help. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell any friends what was going on. I didn't tell anyone I had had these symptoms for weeks because I thought I could handle it on my own, whatever it was. So I fall into the tracks. And luckily, there were people there to pull me out and save my life. So, from there, I told a friend what had happened to me. And this friend said, you need to see a doctor. And, as we've seen in some of the videos and we understand well enough, in medicine, sadly, there are the instances of medical racism, structural racism, right? So when I went to go see my first doctor, the doctor said, well, you're a big, strong guy, right? You must be out partying too much. I'm sure you'll be fine. And this is a white young woman. And she's like, hey, question, are you from around here? And I'm like, yeah, this and that. Third, we start talking, and I realize not only is this doctor not necessarily diagnosing me or doing a full array of tests to see what's wrong with me, she's flirting with me, right? So I'm now having to navigate, you know, having to deal with this person not fully wanting to see whether I'm okay because I'm Black, but also navigating like, oh, that she's flirting with this Black guy, right? Like, how do you navigate that? So again, I spend another few weeks ignoring it, right? Okay, well, I guess it's nothing until the symptoms get worse. Luckily, I had a friend, a young Black woman who had an older sister who happened to be a Black doctor. Had it not been for a Black doctor, I don't know where I would be right now. She says, you need to see my sister. I go see her sister. Her sister suggests you need to get some MRIs and CAT scans done. Thankfully, I do that and they find a lesion right on my brain. And so I'm navigating, well, what does this mean? What am I supposed to do? Right. And as I'm navigating this, I start becoming depressed. Right. What does this mean? She's like, it means that you likely have MS. And I'm like, okay. I Google it. I'm like, this is not something that happens to people like me. I'm Black, I'm strong, I'm resilient, I'm impervious. What do you mean? Who am I supposed to talk to? And so for months, I spent time falling into a pit, because this is what happens when you don't have community, right? When you don't have a sense of vulnerability, when you're a Black man who thinks that he's impervious, because that's what I was taught. I'm invincible. And so I was lucky in that one day I was talking about MS with a friend and just how I had been feeling. And this friend said, I know an older Black man who has MS. I'm going to connect you to on Facebook. So she connected us. He saved my life. Just having someone who was dealing with the exact same thing I was dealing with and who had been dealing with it for longer than I had allowed me to understand that I could keep going, that it was okay to not be okay. Right. And I think that that's the importance of this space. That's the importance of the MS Society. That's the importance of the work that's being done today and over the next few days, is understanding that it's okay for Black people to not be okay, especially in light of everything that we face beyond having MS, right? We understand that the stressors of being Black only make our MS more difficult to navigate. And so when we come together like this, when we understand that we're not alone, not only do we save ourselves, but we have the potential of saving someone else. We lock arms and we move forward together. And so what I would love to do is actually continue the conversation with Tyler and Michelle about why this space is so important and why locking arms is saving our lives.
Man, we talking about powerful, powerful, my brother. Like
Yes.
that warmed my heart, Michelle. I know for you, you can talk to me from a woman's perspective. I'm coming from a male's perspective. Like him giving his heart, that hits me. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, everything you said, it made me think about the word resilience, Fred, so much. And that, when we're all diagnosed, the first thing we hear lots of times is either, oh, you look so good. I didn't know that you were even living with anything. Or I didn't know people of color, Black people got MS. It's just, besides the diagnosis, is you have to get around this ability of people just judging you that, oh, you can't have something like MS. Right. But real quick, before we get into that conversation, Fred, I just got to tell you a few things that are going on in the chat. First of all, everyone loved your interior design behind you. And then second of all, the vinyl, they want to know, is that vinyl records? I'm all about vinyl. I still have my record player. So when you get a second, when we get off this, go into the chat and give people some love around your vinyl records. Now back to the society stuff. I just wanted to show you, everybody's sending you love in there. I want to come back to you, Tyler. Yeah, to you and Fred. I know when I first started the MS support group in North Carolina and then this conference, we rarely had Black men show up. And right before COVID, we had a large group of Black men that were showing up. So I feel you on that, Fred. I feel you on that, Tyler. Let's talk about what it feels like to be a Black man living with this disease.
Well, I think to the point that I was saying, right, where we grow up being taught that we have to almost be invincible just to survive, right?
Yeah.
And so when you find out you have something like MS, which inherently forces you to become vulnerable because you need people, right? And I want to emphasize that when you have MS, you need people. You need the systems to work. You need the family to work. You need the friends to work, right? And so you have to actually reprogram yourself a bit to seek help.
Yeah.
And that's not
You need
always
your
the first
tribe.
rule. Yeah, that's not
Yeah, go
always
ahead,
the
Tyler.
first rule. Yeah, and so I think also, Fred, you laid out that medical racism is real. So to be on the lookout for that. And so when you're acknowledging and making those things aware, automatically you can't do this alone. We've got to commune. And Michelle, that's why we're chasing you all as Black women, because y'all are great about building community. But guess what, fellas? We can too. And Fred's journey just displayed that. He met another Black man, saved his life. Saved his life.
We honor you, Fred. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciation,
Thank you for
man.
using your voice.
Y'all go out and support this man and his books and Amazon bestseller, man. We thank you, Fred.
That's
Keep
right.
them vinyls, because them folks gonna be showing up trying to meet you at the bodega, trying to get your vinyls from you, brother.
Yeah,
Hey,
keep
we
them. Don't
love
let
you.
them do it.
Don't let them do it, Fred. We love you, and y'all look out for more from Fred for the rest of the day. And we appreciate your heart, man. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep this thing going, man. Our next speaker is Dr. Misty Harrison. Has dedicated her whole career, and that word dedication, to finding out answers our community needs. She's an advocate in our community for us with how MS affects Black people, in honor of her mother. Come on, somebody. In honor of her mother who has MS. Doc, take it away.
I am Dr. Kanistian Harrison, a Sylvia Lowry Fellow specializing in clinical trials in MS research focused on issues of racial equity at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. My interest in MS started when I was a teenager and my mom was diagnosed with MS. My mom was getting ready to be deployed for military duty when she began to develop symptoms that eventually led to her diagnosis. I watched her seek treatments for MS and watched her try to find a community, participating in society activities like the MS Walk. I also saw how the disease affected people differently. In the past, there have been misunderstandings of MS being a white person's disease, and over the years, we've grown to know that MS is affecting an increasing number of Black people. Because of these past misconceptions, Black people may not have sought help for their symptoms earlier on, and providers may have shown some bias in not considering MS as a primary diagnosis in someone who is Black. Bias amongst providers can result in mistrust within Black people with MS, delayed diagnosis, and further lead to poor outcomes. My current work as a researcher is focused on disparity in the health outcomes of people living with MS based on race. Some of the research I do focuses on answering that question, and studies have found that Black people with MS reported more medical mistrust than white people with MS. These findings suggest what we in this community might already know, that there is a serious problem of medical mistrust, which is a barrier to healthcare for minority groups that needs attention. One of the ways being in research can help build trust is to be primarily involved in the research that directly affects people who look like you and share similar backgrounds. For instance, I'm involved in the CHIMES trial studying the effects of ocrelizumab specifically in minorities living with MS. It is important because of the 20 plus approved drugs, Black people were not well represented in the previous trials, so we need more representative data that applies to all people with MS. It's a privilege and an honor working with patients because I can connect with them from a place of understanding and family. In my training, I've seen Black people struggle with the information they are given about their diagnosis and making decisions that are best for them. As a Black person, I find my work as a physician and researcher especially rewarding because I get to be involved in making things better for all people with MS, especially people who look like me and my mother. It's so important to encourage more Black researchers within this field because we need representation amongst people who are asking the relevant questions and have a viewpoint that is unique to us. By having representation within the research field, the impact to our community would result in breaking down mistrust and changing the way that doctors interact with their patients to ensure that patients feel heard and that their experience is real. Watching my mom's experience inspired me, but I continue this work because it matters and it is meaningful. There's still so much to learn to be able to optimize care and treat people better. As a Black woman, I can say from my own experience, it's important for us to be seen in this space and to embrace our identities within this space.
Hello, I'm Dr. Tim Kutze, and I'm the Chief Advocacy Services and Science Officer at the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm coming to you from Albany, New York, where I occupy land at the confluence of the Hudson and Mohawk rivers. This land was stewarded for generations by two nations, the Mohawk Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Stockbridge-Munsee Band of Mohicans, before the arrival of European colonists. I honor the ongoing connection of these nations to this land. It is my pleasure to be with you today. I've dedicated my life's work to what brings us together today, creating a world free of MS. I started out as an MS researcher on an MS Society-funded research team. We worked on understanding the effects MS has on the brain and on ways to repair the myelin that is damaged in MS. After some years as a lab researcher, I shifted my focus to helping drive MS research by joining the Society's research team. Today, I have the privilege and honor of leading our teams focused on advocacy, healthcare engagement, MS Navigator, marketing, and research. I believe that we can and will cure MS. I also believe that we must ensure that all people with MS can benefit from this cure. I also believe that we must see and respond to the challenges that all people with MS experience. One of the most important parts of my job is making sure that we are an organization that supports these beliefs. To do that, we have to lift the communities that have historically been overlooked and unseen in the journey to cure MS. One of the ways we do this is by acknowledging and correcting false beliefs and messaging that have contributed systematically to health inequities for people living with MS. We know today that Black people can get MS just as often as white people. MS is not just a white person's disease. As a white individual who has spent 3 decades in the field of MS, I have seen this firsthand at scientific conferences I attended, where MS was frequently characterized as a white person's disease, with no one, including me, bothering to ask, is this true? How do we know it to be true? By my passivity, I contributed to the perpetuation of this harmful myth. The truth is, MS does not discriminate. We know this false narrative caused real harm and continues to affect the Black MS community today. As an organization, we've had to really reflect on this and the role we and that I played as an MS researcher and leader in perpetuating that narrative. I and my MS Society colleagues are committed to actively erasing the invisibility and unequitable access to affordable health care that so many people with MS experience. Some of the ways we plan to do this is by advocating for policies that improve access and affordability, making investments to grow the Black healthcare workforce to increase the number and diversity of providers in the field. Did you know that today only 3% of the neurologists out there are Black? That's a real problem. Part of our outreach will include promoting funding and opportunities within historically Black colleges and universities. We're also building cultural competency training for doctors and other healthcare providers to increase their awareness of every patient's nuanced needs. We are requiring that anyone applying for clinical research funding include an outreach plan for recruiting and retaining a diverse study participant, because it is extremely important that we increase diversity in clinical trials, scientific studies, and the research workforce. We're also increasing our investments in health disparity research and incentivizing researchers to focus on health disparities. We're increasing our research fellowship opportunities to diversify the field of MS researchers and providing training on unconscious bias for our scientific grant reviewers to reduce their bias in the review process. I'll acknowledge that these are big goals. This work is no doubt a journey, but we are committed to each step it will take to see this through. Beyond the doctor's offices and the research labs, we want everyone to know that the National MS Society is here for them. We know representation across everything we do matters, and we recognize that the value of events like this and the opportunity this moment provides to deliver authentic, meaningful, and relevant content. It's important to you, and it's a priority for us. Thank you for being here today to connect, share your perspectives, and be in community. I look forward to sharing even more progress updates with you in the future. Together, we are stronger.
Oh my God. But again, every time we come back, I'll be like, thank you. That was so good. But we do want to pause and thank Tim for being here to share the progress the society is making on the issues that we have as a Black community and how he's leaning in to discuss them. We know this is a journey. The MS movement has a long way to go. But as you can see, the society is putting in the work. They're making strides. They're trying to ease the invisibility that so many of us face in the Black community. So just know that they are all in.
That's it. That's it. And I think that's what we want more than anything. Stay committed with us. I mean, we're doing this, and this is our fourth year doing it. So we get in year-round support from the society. They are here to stay. They're a big reason why we have the voices we have. So we want to make sure that we are taking advantage of everything. Please take advantage of everything that these 2 days have to offer. And so, Michelle, let's tell them about the great stuff, just in case, right? Things have gotten lost. There's been a lot of presentation. So talk to us about what's taking place, so we can get people there accordingly.
Okay, Tyler, let's go. So let's start with the welcome video, which you can find in the lobby of where you are today. Click play the video for an overview of all the ways that you can connect across the summit. I see some of that going on in the chat. They're in there like, go here, go to the chat room. This is how you find a community. As you're navigating, you can always go to the help desk to get the assistance that you need. Some people are saying they can't hear, their browsers aren't working. Go to the help desk. In the virtual environment, it'll be much smoother if you just ask for help. Be sure to check out all the fun highlights. You hear us talk about this all the time in the Connection Lounge. That is where you can get the matchmaking tools. So you can connect with people near you. I see a lot of people saying, anybody in Mississippi, anybody in the Bay Area, anybody here, use the connection tool to do that.
Right. So listen, right after a short break, we'll be back heading to our breakout sessions. This is the action. So today's topics for you to choose from, listening very carefully: forging your identity with MS, that's the first one, and thriving with MS. All right. So join those for some helpful, insightful information, and you can connect with these topics. You can also access these program sessions from the room at the bottom of your screen. All right. The room at the bottom of your screen on the navigation bar. So look down, navigation bar, that's where you need to be.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler, for sharing that. Also, in the program session room, there's another excellent opportunity to network with other people that are affected by MS. So do that. The the Black MS community meetups happen after the breakup sessions on both days. So today and tomorrow is after the breakout sessions. They're hosted by MS advisory committee members and volunteer leaders. So it's going to be very interactive. There are new additions to the summit agenda and a great place to have an open conversation with people like yourself that are having this similar journey.
Man, you don't want to miss out on the meetups, right? We talk about building community, and building your team is a great way to do it after these breakout sessions, to have the conversations. And that's where the magic happens. That's what today is about, building community. I know you can speak on it, Michelle.
I know, but guess what? It's time for us, for Tyler and I, to say goodbye. But we're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be back tomorrow at the same time, the same place. Tomorrow's session digs into the invisibility inherent in MS that we all are feeling. And guess what? Tomorrow is Dr. Missy Joy Williams. She's going to be here with there's a whole bunch of other amazing speakers. Tyler and I have bias for Dr. Missy. We love her so much, but you don't want to miss out.
Hey, absolutely, Michelle. We don't want to miss out. All right, so let's go, ladies and gentlemen, so we can grow. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Enjoy the summit. Look forward to seeing y'all. Y'all take care.